Hey everybody, it's Matt Cameron with Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency's Drop the Tailgate, and today we are in Greene County. I'm with Wildlife Officer Ryan Rosier, and we're going to talk basic trapping. Now, a lot of our viewers are hunters, and they want to know about trapping around their hunt lease. We've got a lot of landowners that are going to be on here watching this, want to know about just dealing with nuisance wildlife around the house. So I'm just tickled to death to be here with you, Ryan, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell me about a little bit of background about you, about your experience with the agency, and about trapping, how you got into it.
Well, like I said, my name's Ryan Rosier. I've been a wildlife officer with TWRA since 2014. I've been up here in Upper East Tennessee the whole time, originally in Johnson County and now in Sullivan County. As far as trapping goes, I've been trapping, I guess, recreationally for my own interest probably since I was 13, 14. I kind of got into it on my own with some friends I had too. Primarily started out with snaring and then kind of evolved into some more of the other trapping that we more commonly see with the foothold traps and water trapping and stuff like that. And now it's primarily just kind of helping out landowners and other people that are wanting to get into trapping for recreation purposes or for wildlife management purposes.
That's probably a good place to start. So I've been with the agency about 20 years now, and when I was in the field and even now in the office, one of the number one questions I've gotten over the years has been, how do we control coyotes? What's the regulations on hunting them, trapping them? How can I get rid of them? Raccoons is probably a close second, if not the top one, is raccoons are everywhere you go these days, and then dealing with skunks. And outside of that, I got questions on beavers and bobcats on occasion, but the three primary ones were going to be coyotes, skunks, and raccoons. So can you help us understand the laws on dealing with these things first and foremost, about controlling them around the house or the farm, the trapping regulations, and then show us how we can target those species and maybe go out and have some success trapping them?
First off, a good thing, Tennessee and TWRA provide a lot of opportunity for people, whether they want to trap as part of just the recreation or sport part of it, but also from a wildlife management or landowner standpoint. And as you know, if someone's having damage, actually damage, livestock damage or whatever from fur bearers, they can control them any time of the year. They don't have to do it necessarily during the seasons. And coyote trapping season, and for skunks, for that matter, is open year-round. But most people want to trap during those winter months, because that's, if they're after the pelts, they want to get the hides from them. That's when they're prime. They've got the big fluffy furs and everything.
Makes sense.
So you kind of can, dual purpose it, I guess. You can get the hides from them, but if you're purely after it for the wildlife management aspect, you can do it anytime you need to if you're having issues. And the good thing for trapping it, if you learn how to trap a coyote, you're probably going to be able to trap the other ones, and you'll probably trap them whether you want to or not. There's other traps that we set a lot of times around our coyote sets to try to target those animals, to keep them out of the coyote sets if we're specifically targeting coyotes. But lots of times we have to talk to landowners or land managers and kind of see what their concerns or goals are in the first place, because a lot of times people don't realize how much those skunks and possums and coons can have, how much of effect they can have on your turkey and grouse and stuff like that from eating their nest or even the animals themselves.
Nest predators.
Yeah.
Big time. And
a lot of times the coyotes are because people perceive them eating the deer and everything. And we do have a lot of coyotes. The farm that we're on today, the people that manage this and hunt this have harvested several coyotes. They see them regularly here, just as probably often as they see the deer. And they've seen them in packs as many as 5 or more running together.
Is that usually a family unit when you see multiple yokes together?
Yeah, they do run in family units. And one thing we always tell people, you might have coyotes around that you're seeing, and they might not cause any problems, and you might not want to bother them, because if you get rid of those, you might have some other ones come in that have a little bit different personality.
Could be a little more aggressive.
It could be. But if you are wanting to decrease the coyote population and get rid of them, I always recommend that people implement trapping. I think it's more effective in the long run than hunting. Hunting, it can be fun, but you'll likely, harvest one or two and you'll kind of educate the rest. Whereas trapping, you can hopefully put more of a dent on them. But
I don't want to get too far in the weeds on yotes and game populations, but I've read studies on their fecal content, and it shows primarily they eat small, furry critters, and not so much deer and turkey like people think that they are. And I have no doubt that a yote will grab a fawn, kill and eat it if it gets the opportunity, or young turkeys, but that's not what they thrive on. So I don't want people to get the misconception that if we go in and trap all the yotes out, it's going to really, really benefit the deer population, because they're not a deer predator.
No, they're not wolves, like a lot of people might think they are.
Correct.
They are a predator, and they will kill things, but like you said, they're more than likely going to kill and eat a rabbit or something that size before they're going to kill a deer. And they're opportunistic, and so certain times of the year when the deer have fawns, they might stumble upon a fawn or two and eat them, but they're probably not just roaming around killing adult deer. We got some traps here we can talk about, and the different types, and just make sure that whatever traps you're going to buy and use are in accordance with the law, and we'll talk about that.
Traps here.
So I've got an assortment of traps here that pretty much will be representative of the types that most people will use for most trapping scenarios, whether that be water trapping or land trapping. And then we'll start, I guess, talking about the snares, because this is probably the simplest and easiest thing as far as our regulations go. And snares, there's really only one regulation when it comes to snares, and that deals with the cable diameter. And this wire here is actually just made to support the snare. We can wire this to a tree or whatever we have at the site, and this will serve to support the snare and also to anchor it at the site for when something gets caught. Our diameter restrictions are actually the diameter of this cable, and it has to be a minimum of 5/64 of an inch and a maximum of 3/32 of an inch. Basically, you're just going to make a loop with these, and how you're going to target different animals with your snares is primarily by this loop diameter. Obviously, smaller loop for smaller animals and closer to the ground. Bigger loop and higher off the ground for your bigger animal. I could set this snare for anything from, that raccoon that's down there close to the ground with a small head, and I could use these. Actually, these ones I originally purchased for beaver. So these are good beaver snares. But yeah, anything, it really just depends on what gets its head in there. Obviously, you will have to have it at the right height, because you want their head to go in here and you don't want their legs to step through it. These ones only have a deer stop on it right here, and so that deer stop, what that does, it's placed at a certain distance here so that when this closes up, it can only close so tight. And the whole point of that, why they call them a deer stop, is if a deer were to step into this snare, its foot will pull back out and the deer won't be stuck in there. And at the same time, most animals, it'll still be able to breathe if it's caught in there. And you can set snares in a way to kill the animal quickly, or you can set them in a way with swivels and breakaway devices and stuff to where it's meant to just hold the animal there till you get there, basically like a leash. One word of caution on these though, if you do set these where they're on a fence line or something where something's likely to get tangled up and get damaged, you probably don't want to set these on property where there's a lot of pets and stuff roaming around, because obviously there's not a whole lot you can do once this thing's in there. You're going to have to cut this cable to get it out. These right here are your typical steel traps, or a foothold trap, depending on what terminology you want to use, and we'll go over the regulations that guide those. These here would be effective for anything that we talked about, your skunks, raccoons, foxes, coyotes, and bobcats. And then we have what we'd call either a dog-proof or species-specific trap. And this is primarily made to target raccoons, skunks, and possums. The whole premise behind this is that you have this baited down in there. The animal has to be able to stick its paw down in there and grab a hold of it and pull that trigger. And obviously a dog's probably not going to fit its paw down in there and not be able to grab it. They don't have the opposable thumbs. These right here are body gripping traps or an instant kill type trap. These traps are meant to quickly kill whatever gets in them. And these are primarily only going to be legal and used as a water set. So these are going to be used in water, you know, lakes, streams, rivers. Primarily we're thinking of beaver and otter. And then this size here would be more for like a mink or a muskrat. On these footholds here, if they're going to be used as a land set, which would include anything that we're going, the coyotes and the bobcat, anything that's on land and not in water, they have a maximum jaw spread of 7 inches. You're going to measure them across levers like this, and you can see that one's about 6 1/4 inches. The other requirements revolve around the actual jaws themselves. The law requires that this jaw face be 1/4 inch minimum, and so that's going to be this measurement right here. So I can probably line that up there. You can see those are about 3/8 of an inch in diameter, that jaw face. And so that's designed to have more surface area holding the animal, which results in it not cutting in as hard on the animal and allowing that blood flow, and just gives it more of a humane trap. And I mentioned the offset jaws. So this is a laminated jaw, which basically just means that they've taken a piece of metal and welded it on there to make that jaw face thicker. An offset jaw is, you can see right here, there's a space. When this is all the way closed, there's still a space between the jaws. And that does a couple things. Some people prefer those for their holding power on the animal, but obviously there's still some room there for blood flow and everything, even when the trap's all the way closed. And you can see here, that coyote right there, I caught yesterday, and it's one of these exact same traps as this right here. So traps like these right here have to be checked every 36 hours. What that does is basically gives you, each day you can go check, gives you some leeway there. I generally check them every day. And any animal that's in it, when you check it, does have to be removed at that time, one way or another. These traps here that are meant to kill an animal, that you'd be setting for beaver or whatnot in the water, those you can leave longer. Those you only have to check every 72 hours. Reason being, obviously you're not going to have an animal in there still waiting for you. All right, Matt, now that we've talked about the traps and some of the basic regulations and stuff, let's go head out and go set one of these things. Let's go. I'm gonna set everything back here a little bit just to kind of help with that scent like we were talking about, and keeping that as undisturbed as possible other than what we're gonna do. And I got this because I got bad knees. And we'll help keep the scent out of there. We'll use the backing there. We'll put a little dirt hole down in there. That's what we'll put our bait or scent down in, and kind of mimics a natural cavity that an animal might be in. First thing, I'm going to figure out where I'm going to have everything placed. And I kind of already have a natural backing and little funnel area here, and I'll probably just move some of this here, place it to the side, and this dry grass like this I'm going to keep to the side, and we'll use this last to help cover it up. It's something good and dry, and we can use this to help conceal the trap. So I'm just going to set that there. I'm going to figure, I'll probably put my dirt hole about right here, and I'll use my hand for a rough spacing about where I want the trap. So it's probably going to be about right here. And if you figure, I kind of just used to setting these traps, so I kind of know what size I need, but you got to figure this chain needs to be in there too. And I got these, we didn't talk about this earlier, but this is a shock spring, and this is another thing that helps with the comfort for the animal when it's in there and it's pulling on this trap and lunging. It gives it some give there. So this is my earth anchor. I'm going to use this. I'm going to drive this down into the ground and then pull on it, and it's just going to turn sideways and get snug in the ground there. So let me get my trap bed dug out here. And so we want the trap, we're going to dig out what we call our trap bed, and that's where our trap's going to sit. And we want this trap to be at least a little bit down in the ground, a little bit recessed, so that it's not a high spot where they're going to step up on. If we have a low spot, that animal will naturally kind of step down in there. So I'm going to just dig a little bit more. And that should be about big enough for the trap. I'm going to take this. We'll hammer that bad boy in there. All right, and so that's in there vertical, so now we just want to pull on it and set it, and until that's not going to come out of there.
How do you get it out when you're ready to pull it?
See that little cable there?
Yes.
Is on the front of that, or sorry, on the back. So I can pull this, it's a retrieval cable, and that'll pull it back vertical and pull it up out of the hole. This is a traditional style foothold, what we call a dog trap. This piece here is called the dog of the trap. And what I'm going to do is night latch this, and night latching basically gets this pan to its lowest point right before it's going to trigger, and that way it won't take that much tension for the trap to trigger when the animal steps on it. And if you listen carefully, you probably better hear it. Well, let's try it again. But sometimes it'll slip past it. Did you hear it there?
I did.
All right. So we know our trap's ready to go. And I'm gonna take this chain and that shock spring and try to get it down in there. Down in behind it. And lots of times you can use that to kind of help get that bed of your trap. I'm gonna just kind of see what I need to do here, because I don't want any part of this trap to give. If say the animal steps here, see how it kind of moves, didn't take a whole lot. So I want to get that solid to where if an animal walks in and it steps on the side of the trap, it doesn't get out of here. And so I'm going to use some of this that we dug out and build in around it. Pretty solid down in there now. I'm going to use this. I might have to flip this jaw back up over the pan and underneath these jaws. Kind of like that. And you see how that kind of covers the springs and the pan and stuff. And then once I flip this jaw back down, it'll pull that tight. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put my dirt hole in, and I'm gonna just push it in like that, and then I'll hammer this down and pull, just twist it and pulls it out just kind of like your old core sample. Kind of spread it like that. And if I got it dug down in there right, if you can see, I'll put this on here. It's probably, about ½ an inch down there, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And pour me a little bit of peat moss. And the sifter helps get that fine dirt on there. And if you were sifting the dirt that you dug out of there, it would do the exact same thing. Gets these big pieces out. You can use it to grind something like that if you want. You don't want anything in there that's going to prevent the trap from firing. And I'll just take my glove like that. And then we'll just take some of that dry grass that we dug out. And this really comes into personal preference on this as far as how much you want to blend it back in and how much you want to use to block it and guide the animal in there. I'll open up this bucket here. And there's usually 3 different things. You can use, people use urine from some type of coyote or fox. And we have baits, which are, this is going to be, you know, a food-based, meat-based, something that they're going to want to eat, smells like food, tastes like food. And then these here glandlers, and these basically have different parts of the animals that smell good to other animals, and you can probably smell as soon as I open that up. And so for this one, I'll probably, I'll just go with one of these and probably a little bit of bait. I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna switch it up because I've been using that other bait, and I'm gonna give them something a little different. And what I'll do is just grab you a little stick like that. Get you a little piece. And then I'm gonna use that to stick it right down in that hole. So it's just down in there far enough that the scent's coming out, but it can't just come up and grab that with its mouth real quick. It's gonna have to either stick its snout way down in there or dig at it.
So you just let the whole stick in there with the bait?
Yeah, I just threw the stick in with it.
Okay.
And then what I'll probably do for this one, since this is already here, I'm just going to dip that in there like that.
A little up high where maybe the wind will catch it.
Yeah, catch the wind and get it over here, and then it'll let the bait do its job. And that's going to probably run down and drip. We just don't want it out here on the trap. So ideally, set that, you know, somebody comes walking by, they probably wouldn't even notice that there's a trap there. And that's kind of what we want.
Well, Ryan, I hadn't done a whole lot of trapping in my life. It's kind of around it in college and, you know, seen it done, and I've trapped a few things in a live trap, but I've never really set a leg hold, a snare, any of that stuff to catch something. So that was very informative to me, and hopefully people watched it, you know, kind of learn how they can do it, pick up some traps, and
sure,
maybe catch a few critters.
Yeah, and don't be discouraged if you got an interest in it and you've never done it, or maybe you don't even hunt. You know, that doesn't mean anything. You could come out and do it, and any ages. I really like taking kids trapping. You know, we talked about with those coons and those coon cuff style traps. That's something really easy. I can teach probably any kid that's got a decent amount of hand strength how to set one, and even if they can't, I can set it for them and they can do the rest themselves. I like watching them pick a spot where they think that the animals are going to be, watch them kind of read the sign and set them. And so yeah, you know, take your kids if they want to go, and I'm sure we'll be doing some more of this kind of thing, and hopefully some more classes as well.
Looking forward to getting out with Caleb Marshall. He couldn't be with us today, but y'all trap a lot together. And
yeah, Caleb's done a lot of trapping, and probably just as much or more than me, and he knows a lot about it. And hopefully we'll be doing a little bit water trapping here soon, and let everybody meet him. I'm sure they'll love him.
Yeah, looking forward to that. You know, there's so much involved with this. We're talking about doing another video on you know, skinning these things and fleshing them out and showing people how you prepare them, because that's got to be time consuming in itself.
It's kind of like a deer. You go hunting and you shoot a deer, and then you say, well, now the real work begins. And that's exactly the same as this. And until you've done some, it can be a lot of work. But to me, it's a rewarding thing to be able to go out and get something and harvest it and create something from it. And I like doing it with the kids. They like having the furs and the hides and stuff, and you can tan them or do what, you know, sell them if you want to, or keep them, or whatever you want to do.
It's been a blast, man. I wish we had more time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's a lot of work getting these traps set, and that's what we do a lot better teaching other people than you could just doing it yourself. So,
well, thanks for teaching me, brother.
Well, anytime.
Been a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Look forward to another round.
All right.
All right. Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Drop the Tailgate. Join us next time for some more fun in the Tennessee Great Outdoors.